Warning, the following podcast contains graphic language that Nancy Reagan and Tipper Gore deemed inappropriate in a civilized society. Maybe your kid should be outside playing in the sunshine rather than listening to adult language on a podcast. But hey, I won't tell you how to raise your kids. Religions and governments and hosts of mainstream media opinion shows are better suited for that job, I suppose. It takes a village to wash your brain. Am I right?
We're here to talk about the political environment and kind of what it means. Some of us are going to have our own views. These are our private views, while all three of us are contributors to our voice in one way or another. Our views don't necessarily represent our voice as a whole, but we also want to make sure that you are aware that we do have a bias. Every person has a bias, and hopefully you'll know that we wear our bias on our sleeves. That way you don't feel like we're trying to deceive you in any way.
Hey friends, we're back, and we have a special guest in studio today. In studio, myself, as always, Chris Guru, and deep in the south is our good friend Jessie. How's it going, Jessie?
It's hot as balls here.
Hot as balls in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a third person in the room today, and it's not Josh. However, it's someone who's, I don't know, like maybe a half an hour away from Josh. Corey Henderson himself. What's up, Corey?
Hey, how you doing?
Great. So, we have a lot of ground to cover. There are so many different things to talk about, and I thought maybe today we would start off by introducing the segment, You're Getting Fucked and You Don't Even Know It. And the reason why we say you're getting fucked and you don't even know it is those of us out there who are progressives or just consider ourselves on the left and we campaigned for or rooted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. Well, I hope you're not drinking the Kool-Aid that he's been mixing up, because it seems Chris Hedges has come out with a pretty damning argument to suggest that Bernie Sanders is not really the revolutionary that we all want him to be, and that he used to be in the past. If you read, he wrote an article in Truthdig called Et tu, Bernie, and in that article he kind of outlines how Sanders didn't really expect to be able to make much of a dent, but he ended up dragging the progressives into the realm of the Democratic Party by doing pretty much the same thing that Jesse Jackson did back in the past with the Rainbow Coalition.
Yeah.
And then even further before Jackson, McGovern in 1972 was actually running. Now, this is a little different from Sanders because Sanders is not an anti-imperialist, but McGovern is. And even before McGovern, George McGovern, Henry Wallace in 1948 ran a campaign in the Democratic primary that was an anti-war campaign. And both of those guys got shut down by the establishment the exact same way that Bernie Sanders got shut down, except they were shut by rhetoric that appealed to, they were using dog whistled words and stuff like that, so that appealed to the poor and rich white racists to get them to vote for the other candidate during the primaries. And the same kind of shit happened this time around. The same kind of shit happened back when Clinton was running for president as well. That's how he was able to dupe Jesse Jackson. But I don't know. What do you think about all this, Jesse?
Well, the thing is I think, okay, so Bernie in and of himself, the message that really won my heart and Corey's heart, my wife's, was that inclusiveness. You know what I mean? Is he tried to bring everyone together.
Yeah.
Now, in this day and age, I mean, he was going up up against Clinton. I honestly think that somewhere, at some point along this line, someone took him aside, set him in a room, and showed him the big chart of Clinton death. You know what I mean? People that had been suicided and had run-ins with the Clintons.
Oh, so you think it runs that deep?
I think it does run that deep.
Okay.
I mean, even historically, I think like with Wallace and everyone else like you were talking about, they were basically telling them, look, it's 1948. We just had a spaceship crash. No one knows about it. So we could put you in the desert right next to him and no one's going to know.
You're going to bring Roswell into this.
Exactly. But anyone beyond 1963, they take them to a room and they show them the unedited version of the, Zapruder film, or even the CIA. The CIA had men on the ground filming as well. Yeah. A lot of people forget that. And it's unedited. No one's ever seen this footage except for people in the White House or people in the know. And I think they take all these big ideal kind of guys like Wallace, and who was the other one? McGovern.
Yep.
And everyone. And they set them aside and they go, look, you're going to watch this video or you're going to watch this film. And at the end, we're going to ask you one question. Now, depending on that question depends on whether or not you walk out of this room or you end up like the guy in the film. That'll change your politics in a fucking heartbeat. I don't care who you are. Money's great, fame is great, hookers, blow, whatever you're into. But if someone actually kind of showed you footage of what actually happened in certain historical incidents, and they turn around and say, we did this and you will be next.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk, even during the DNC convention.
Yes.
When Sanders started to cry at the moment that everyone was getting shut down who were trying to protest in the audience, and he had to go ahead and suspend the rules and say go ahead for it and take it at that point. He really, I don't know, it was hard for me to believe that, and in fact it's come out now that Sanders knew that the primary was being rigged in September. By September 2016, officially based on documentation, something provable, right? I mean, we all have our conjecture we can make, but basically he had a good idea and he was told what had actually occurred by September 2016. But he still didn't say anything about it, and he still endorsed Clinton. And I guess you could say that he was trying to keep Trump from being able to win, but honestly, if he's a smart man, he probably knew already that wasn't going to occur.
Right. Well, the thing that gets me is that is a double fuck you as far as I'm concerned. He knew that the fix was in. He knew that. Come on, he's Bernie Sanders. He's not exactly a spring chicken. If on September 17th you saw a news article that said Bernie Sanders dies of a heart attack in a hotel room, would you have been like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. He just seems so healthy.
I think everyone and their brother would have started researching what really happened in that.
Right, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Is if he died of a heart attack or something, they would pop it off as old age or this, that, the other. The double fuck you comes in where he was like, okay, I get it. You're going to fuck me over. And it was one of those double-edged sword things where you're going to fuck me, I'm going to fuck you. So think about it. Whoever he threw his support behind was going to lose. How fucked up would it have been if he threw his support and said, all my Burnocrats, all the people who love me, all the people who are going to vote for me, vote for Trump? Do you think we'd be sitting in the situation that we're in now?
That's a good question. I don't know. Mr. Henderson,
Chris?
What do you think about all this?
I think we've completely deviated from the original point of socialist versus democratic socialist.
We do that a lot.
That's a very astute observation. Would you like to bring it back into that for us?
Sure, very briefly. My observation is the people in power thrive on the duopoly and the two wings of the same bird.
Yes.
Where people are tribal and they vote their tribe regardless of who that is. And you see that in Blue No Matter Who or Mad Dog Republican. Now, what Bernie brought to the table was, and I can say this because I'm in Utah, a red state, I know plenty of conservatives who would have voted for Bernie Sanders had they gotten the opportunity.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. I'm running with a theory here that politics and religion are a lot more closely aligned than a lot of people believe. Now, you being in Utah, just for shits and giggles, religious status, any at all?
I am an apatheist.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, so Bernie was able to bring to the table two things. The first was an anti-corruption message that really resonated with everyone, and that really leads into the second thing of conservatives who didn't necessarily like his politics, but thought of him as an honest man and wanted an honest man as president.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was really the nail in his coffin as far as the opposition and the establishment, because they know that they derive their power from a duopoly and people divided. And
Right.
his like one of his campaign videos of all the different people with the magazine ripping to show the different faces overlaid over everybody. That was about titled Bringing People Together, and that was his message, and that's why so many people liked him. And that very message is a threat to the establishment.
There is no difference between the left and the right. There is none. They are both owned and run by the same cabal of old, rich white men. And anyone that thinks differently, I've got issues with. But I mean, that's my point. Is, I mean, you look at Hillary; she's just as corrupt, if not corrupt. She's got more bodies behind her. Alleged. Bob, hi. Bob's my FBI agent. Hi, Bob. I meant to use the word allegedly. She allegedly has a ton of dead bodies behind her, and her business dealings and her political career. I mean, fuck, it's the Clintons, they have their own suicided, quote unquote, word, and Trump just as corrupt, just as maybe not quite as many bodies, but it still doesn't matter. They're still forcing and they're still pushing the agenda of whoever pays them the most money. That's the agenda.
So back on the socialism versus the democratic socialism thing, though, with Chris Hedges kind of critiquing Bernie. I don't know, Jessie, would you agree that if somebody came out and ran for president, no matter what party they ran under, and said and we believed him, by the way. I mean, people say all sorts of shit that we don't believe him. But let's say we believe this person, and they say, I am anti-war and anti-imperialism. Whether or not they're a socialist, would you vote for a person who comes out with that as their platform? They're saying, I want to close down our military bases. I want to take a chunk of the military budget and put it towards programs that we all understand we need, pay for healthcare. Yeah. I want to stop picking fights with everybody. I want to end all the AUMFs that are outstanding. I want Congress to have full power, and I want you to take away my executive right to be able to start wars for 90 days. I don't know. Like, if somebody
honestly, if they ran on that, I would vote for him.
You would vote for him, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
For the simple, when they want my money every week off my paycheck, it's socialism. But when I demand that money gets used for something other than making the Rothschilds more money, or Trump more money, or Pence more money, or the Waltons more money, or whoever else is Lockheed Martin, the military complex more money, suddenly now. No, we're a country where we believe you work hard and you work hard for your money. You don't need social programs. I'm sorry, I paid it so my kid can go to a good school. I have also no problem paying a little bit extra in taxes if that means that a student that he goes to school with who's not maybe in a family that's as well off, which we're not well off as we are, maybe gets a free lunch or a free breakfast, or you know what I mean? If we can afford to send our troops anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world on a 24-hour notice, drop bombs, drop military, drop hardware, and create a war in 24 hours or less, every kid in America should be able to go to school all the way from kindergarten to a master's degree free of charge.
Sounds like a good plan. So the reason why I asked that question was then to say, so I said no matter what party, if they're just anti-war, you would vote for them, I think.
Yeah.
And so let's say they say I am a socialist. Not democratic socialist, just I am a socialist because I am anti-imperialism. Mm-hmm. Would you still vote for that guy knowing that their intentions would be to completely change the system that we live under and yet would probably not get very far? That's my little caveat, because obviously the first guy to do that is not going to be able to flip the entire country.
And my attitude and my voting pattern, my attitude and my voting pattern would be he couldn't fuck it up anywhere else for him worse than Trump has. So okay. Why not?
So that applies there too.
And it applies to all of that. I mean, the simple fact is we've been running the same game plan, the same government, the same meat puppet for the last 65, 70 fucking years, and nothing has changed.
I don't know. I have to ask, like, I argue with people online about, especially when I revealed that I'd voted for Jill Stein rather than Hillary Clinton after Bernie was booted on the primary. And they always claim that if I don't vote for Hillary Clinton, it's a vote for Trump because of the power grab that they both have. And I argued, okay, now you can look at a statistic and shape it that way, but you can also say that I only vote for people who earn my vote.
Yeah, but I mean, like we've had that conversation.
How
about
do each of you
statistics.
feel about that, though? Like, Corey, do people earn your vote, or do you vote strategically, I guess, is how everyone wanted me to.
It's both, and that's why ranked choice voting is so goddamn important, because there are so many people who don't want to quote unquote waste their vote, and the herd psychology of not wanting to waste their votes makes the wasting vote trope become true.
Oh,
so wait. Now I want to ask this of Corey. Is a simple fact of you are very techie. Okay, so that tells me you are no. That tells me you think logically. This is my question. Okay.
Yes.
If that is the case, then realistically, if people are going to turn around and say that you voted for Jill Stein or Mayor McCheese or the fucking Hamburglar, other than Hillary or Trump, then wouldn't it make more sense to get rid of something like the Electoral College? And in this day and age, we have the technology and we have the means to count every single vote. Would it not make it more sense to go to the popular vote?
I did a presentation recently, and let me find that slide because I think I explained it very well.
I was always, I remember growing up and hitting that voting age, during the whole 2 campaigns, which I laugh about. One was every vote counts. Your vote counts. Don't think that you're a waste. Register, get vote, make your voices heard. And then in the next cycle, it was vote or die. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It just gets to that point. Well, but at the same time, that campaign of vote or die is in the same time frame and in that same cycle of George Bush Jr. winning again in 2000.
Yeah,
where
so,
Florida suddenly can't figure out that 1 + 1 = 2, not 1 + 1 = George Bush won again.
yeah. So this, and among a bunch of other things, is what I like to call the typically talked about solutions. And I'll just go through the list. You got, people say we want term limits on all public offices. We want mail-in ballots. We want early voting. We want open primaries. We want laws to end gerrymandering. We want multi-representative districts. We want ranked choice voting. We want election day to be a national holiday. We want automatic voter registration. We want recall elections. But at the end of the day, it doesn't resonate because the people in power will not vote themselves less power. End of story.
No, exactly. But that's where the problem lies. The people that are controlling the fucking game right now.
We have ranked choice voting right now in Maine. It just happened during the primary.
Wait.
So
You have what?
8 days, we have ranked choice voting. That's what we're discussing right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys have it, which no, back up and explain.
Okay. We had a citizens referendum in 2016 on the ballot. It was to change our voting system from first past the post to ranked choice, and we did it. So we just actually had to. Well, I didn't vote in the primaries because I'm an independent, so I don't get to vote in the Republican or the Democratic primary, or the Greens or anybody. But they had the ranked choice, and in the Republican side, the favorite ended up winning in the first round, so it took like no time at all. And on the Democrats, it took I think 4 rounds and 8 days to tabulate. Which now, because there are so many people who are against ranked choice voting because they think that, well, I don't know, that there's an idea floating about that ranked choice actually gives you the rank choice, to play on words, right? Because you're not getting everyone's first choice, you're getting everyone's like 3rd, 4th, or 5th choice, and I don't think that's accurate at all.
No, I don't understand that. I really don't. And I know the Electoral College. I've looked at it. I know how it works. I get it. I understand. Not a problem. I get it. But it's not 1815 or 1912 anymore.
Well, to speak to the Electoral College thing, I have a different opinion on that. And real quick,
Oh, I know you do.
I'll just state that just as we have the Senate and 2 senators for every state to represent the will of the state, what the state itself needs, and we have representatives who are for districts based on population size, and so they represent the will of the people in individual areas.
But they don't.
So too do we have, well, of course they don't, but I'm talking about how it's supposed to work.
Okay.
So too do we have the election where we have popular vote, but we also have the electoral college that ultimately decides. And the reason for that is if it was only a popular vote, then New York and the states of New York and California would essentially decide everything. I think there's 2 other states involved in that. But that means that all the other states don't seem to get at least an evening of power in order to cast their own votes. Now, the problem with the electoral college, though, is that those fuckers get to pick whatever they want, despite what we voted for.
But even in the electoral college, California is worth more than 9 other fucking states, and so is New York.
Right, but those other states have more power as electorals in the college than they do as their population would exist.
But then that But then that encourages them to go against, even if it's for their benefit, if it's not their idea. That's why Iowa's a fucking shithole. I'm pretty sure it's where buttfuck Egypt goes to hide the bodies. But Iowa always gets so much press during election years because they get to vote first.
Caucus and the timing, yeah,
correct.
That has to do.
But realistically, Iowa can't go against it. Iowa is nothing compared to what California is worth, or Florida is worth, or New York is worth, right?
Well, that's not accurate because Iowa needs things from our government too, and they can't have the decision made for them by other people who have never been to Iowa. So Iowa needs to have some kind of sliding scale advantage over the bigger states.
Right, but point for point, Iowa is not worth as much as California in the Electoral College.
No, but Iowa has more worth in the Electoral College than they do as just part of the popular vote.
But only because they have special privilege and get the vote first.
No. The timing of their vote has nothing to do with the Electoral College power. They have the same number of electors as anybody else would based on population.
Right, based on population. So realistically, there is no difference between the popular vote and the Electoral College. It's just smaller numbers. If California and New York on the Electoral College scale are worth more than 5, 6, 7 other states combined, what's the difference?
Because they're worth more.
The problem is the winner-take-all thing.
Yeah, but that's if they hit that magic number first. This is all, the way I look at it is the Electoral College is just yet another avenue for the established power to manipulate against the will of the people.
I totally agree with you on that. In fact, I am of the mind that it was created in order to try to keep slave owner states from getting overrun, whatever.
If that's the case, So if that's the case, if you know that process A is corrupt, and that process B can be corrupt, why would you not go to process C?
A hybrid of process A and B and a change in those processes would be more beneficial than just saying only popular vote.
So
only
here's my
popular
question.
vote is a bad idea. That's just
okay. But wait. Let me add another fold into that. Okay, if everyone in America, when they got their driver's license or they had to get a state ID, which is the law of the land, right? When you got those, either of those, you instantly got registered to vote. Okay. Right. And it was like Corey went out and said it was a national holiday that you had to go out. You know what I mean? To go out and vote. Do you think that more people would go out and vote versus what we've seen in the last 10 years, 15 years, 25 years?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that being said, why would you not want to go to a popular vote then?
Because of what I stated before.
Right. Feel free to disagree with me. And I think we should need to add the caveat, same thing that we would add to jury duty. If you don't go out and vote, you got to go stand in front of a judge and say, well, why didn't you go vote? I had to work. No, it's a national holiday, you idiot. You get paid for it. Why didn't you go vote?
And
that's
with
what
that,
yeah,
we're going to have to go ahead and take a break. Sorry, Jessie. And we'll be right back with more fun and excitement. Henderson, what were we just chatting about there?
Well, the points that I was trying to make before a tangent was taken was people in power will not vote themselves less power. And the entire system is set up to benefit them because it disenfranchises voters. Because they know that the more people that vote, then the people in power will have less power. So the question is, in order to get the things that gets the establishment less power, we kind of, as citizens, have to use the same tricks against them. Now,
I like where you're going with that.
Yeah. So what we saw with the Republican Party being infiltrated by Tea Partiers, they did exactly what I'm saying here. Is they took to the primaries and voted out the incumbent.
Yes.
And the whole Dem exit movement, I just grit my teeth and stop myself from screaming at them, because you idiots, that's where the power is. You have no power outside it. If you want to enact change, you have to not Dem exit, you have to Dem enter, and then you have to Republican enter as well if you can't stand the Democrats for whatever reason. Here's the fact. A primary election is where a vote has more impact, because so far fewer people vote, one vote is a lot bigger. And if you can flood a primary with disenfranchised voters, you have a chance, and in many cases unsuccessful, but you do that all across the country, you somehow find a way to bring all these people who don't vote to bear into the primary election, then you have what they say, the general election is a choice between the lesser of two evils, while the primary is a chance to vote for good.
So the vote in the primary has more weight than the vote in the general.
Yes, that's right.
And so the concept of Dem exit, which I will admit I jumped right on that bandwagon, but people like Corey Henderson are bringing me back into reality. That whole concept, and unless you could form some other party and find some billionaire who's going to fund it and make it viable, like, what would you do?
So,
right, and I'll admit in this group that I voted for Hillary Clinton in the general, and that's because I voted for good in the primary. Because I voted for good in the primary, I will vote for the lesser evil in the general. And if everybody did that, you know what? We wouldn't have two evils in the general.
well, I mean,
so long as we have a good in the primary, though.
Exactly. But at the same time, I don't want to interrupt, but at the same time, going on what you were talking about is I see a little bit more nefarious action going on in what you were talking about. A lot of people don't give a shit about the primary. So therefore,
that's the problem right there.
Right. But therefore now they know that X amount of people aren't going to vote in the primary. So now if they can get their party base, or they can get their constituency base, or they can get the people who have a vested interest in, like you said, Hillary getting in, then their votes are even worth more, because there's nothing to sit there and there's not that interaction where there should be on that grander scale of everyone participating in the primary.
Yeah, and back to your point about the nefarious stuff and what I said about it being unsuccessful in many places is because, like you said, there's not always good in the primary. It all depends on where you are. But that's okay, because it's a long road. It's not show up to the primary this year and vote for good. It's show up to the primary this year and vote for the least bad. And then maybe the next cycle you show up to the primary, and in the process of your activism of the primary voting, someone decides, hey, I'm going to run. And then you have good. And it's by getting the collective mass to show up at the primary that the good people who don't run because they feel like they can't win suddenly go, hey, wait a minute, look at this turnout, I have a shot. So 3 or 4 primary cycles later, you have a net benefit, that we've collectively added.
Right.
So
but
really, we're holding the door open. I like that analogy. Okay.
It's not bad, but I mean, speaking as someone who's somewhat politically kind of engaged, but more along the lines of, I got
pessimistic.
Yeah, I got to work tomorrow, so a lot of this shit is just, you know what I mean. That's the way I.
That's exactly the mentality that activists have have to push forward
Right.
through. Like that's the hardest person to reach, is the person who is so focused on their day to day that thinking about lofty endeavors of changing things and then having it better in 10 years is just not even on their radar, because they got to feed the kid and keep their family happy and not piss their boss off.
But but speaking as that precariat class, if you will, to quote, Hillary's fucking band of evilness that backed her, we all have that thought in the back of our head that if shit gets really, really bad enough, there will be a second civil war. I'm not
a revolt of sorts. Actually,
Exactly.
Chris Hedges just came out with a book. I'm not going to plug it because I don't remember the title, but it's basically like an argument for revolt.
Exactly. And the thing is no, and that's the thing. I mean, but it's the same thing. It goes along that same zombie apocalypse mentality of people like, well, they can do whatever they want, but realistically, when the zombie apocalypse happens, I guarantee you, Trump is going to be fucking eaten within the first year. Me, I'm going to be a fucking warlord in Georgia, so feel free to come down to my land. You know what I mean?
I'll
But
keep you as an ally, Jessie.
right, but that is that mentality of what they do is not important on that day-to-day survival, if you will. But the problem that I have is the simple fact that I'm sick and tired of it having to be the two evils, or the lesser of two evils, or shit sandwich or shit sandwich with cheese.
That's where the patience has to come in, though, man. The patience and diligence. You got to actually
but
sign up for a party, show up to the primary, take it over eventually.
But it doesn't matter. They're proving time and time and time again. And if it doesn't fit the powers that are in control, if it doesn't fit their narrative, Bernie bounds out. If it doesn't fit their narrative, JFK gets assassinated. If
That's
it doesn't
the
fit their narrative, right? But if it doesn't fit their narrative,
for them making you scared to do anything about it,
it's not a matter of
we're all sitting at home. That's why people don't show up to the polls. You know what I mean? Because they're eating it with a spoon. They're feeding you hope, and they're feeding you despair, and they're hoping that difference inside of your brain is going to make you say, "Well, fuck it, I'm staying home."
Well, that's why every
people don't show up
commercial
to the polls, the happier they are.
Right, but that's why every other commercial on TV is either a drug commercial, a fast food commercial, or a car commercial. They want you to consume, get sick, take this pill that will, do whatever it is you need it to do, but it might make you grow a vagina on the back of your neck.
Gotcha.
And buy a car you can't afford that's overpriced and realistically only worth about $9,000 in parts.
They want you scared
all day long,
staying at home.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
And if you're not in debt, then realistically, we were talking about this at work. It might, in today's environment, unless you're rich and powerful, which strike two right there, the only options you have in today's America is to become a grunt at a minimum wage job, or 2 minimum wage jobs, or 3 minimum wage jobs, because you can't afford college anymore because they fuck with that system so hard. And then, or you go into military service, which is an absolute fucking joke, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to send you to some third world country or space. Remind me about space. You know what I mean? So it's.
Would you agree that people need to be told what to do?
No, I think people need to stand the fuck up, wake the fuck up, look at these rich assholes that are in power and go, fuck you.
But isn't that you telling them what to do?
No, it's not me telling them what to do, because if shit went south and a meteor was coming towards the Earth and we had a year to prepare, it's the perfect example. It's a zombie apocalypse mentality. When that shit hits, if it hits, your money is worth nothing. We might as well just change to Fallout bottle caps or Fred Flintstone currency of fucking clamshells. $1 million in cash ain't gonna feed you in a society or in a situation where there's been a total and a complete collapse of government, society, and everything that you know. And the first year you will have people that were like, yes, Mr. Trump, I'll become your mercenary and I'll keep the zombies from eating you. But at year 2, they're gonna be like, fuck this yellow piece of shit. I can go and do something else. And that is the strongest survive. And unfortunately, as a poor paycheck to paycheck blue collar schmuck that I am, that is the only dream that we have to fall back on. That's it. Because what I do in a day and what I do for a living, these assholes that are making decisions that affect millions of people could not do. I worked for the railway for 5 years. There ain't a lot of people that can do that job either. Sure as fuck, Trump ain't gonna do work on the railway. That's the only dream we have. So that's all I'm saying. I feel sad now.
So the whole purpose behind my question is there's the common saying of united we stand, divided we fall.
Correct.
And if you take that to the poor grunts, as you put it, and since I'm a nerd, going to Batman, it's like people respond more to symbolism and ideology than they do than what they can come up with themselves. And the whole, do people need to be told what to do? Well, people need a symbol to rally behind, and that's kind of what Bernie Sanders was in a way, is the symbol of the uncorrupt. And when he was defeated, it just, there's that spoonful of despair right back in our mouths.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And one day, Chris, you're gonna have to come on, and we're gonna have to talk about Batman syndrome, because the U.S. has a oh fuck we
did talk about Batman syndrome. It's in the episode titled "Learn to Take a Joke, Batman."
Oh yeah, that is correct. My question is this: what's worse? Is giving a I don't want to say hopeless, because I'm not hopeless. I just don't focus on shit that I can't change. But is it worse to give someone hope and then turn around and at the last minute take it away and be like, oh, here's a shit sandwich? Which is worse? Giving him hope and doing that, or giving him no hope whatsoever?
Well, I believe it's better to have loved and lost than to never have lived at all.
Okay.
So where I'm going with this is the good in the primary, and the fact that some places don't have the good in the primary. Well, there's a concept that I was introduced to last year called a communiteer. And what a communiteer is it's that person who is active in the community, who does care, who is very extroverted, who everybody knows. And most often it's not the communiteer who runs for office, it's the greedy bastard that runs for office.
Correct.
So if we can figure out a way to get the communiteer to run for office, to convince the communiteer that they have a chance of winning, people are going to respond to that, and it's the communiteer that they're going to listen to, because, hey, look, that's one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's an individual running for State House, not in my district, but in my state. And he is just fucking awesome. I'll just tell you that right now. And if he wins, that's going to really renew my faith, because the way he ran his campaign, a progressive platform in a red state, mind you, would be the bedrock for how I'd want to take this message nationwide, and to enable that pattern of waking up the disenfranchised with technology, and putting it essentially in everyone's phone. Now, you have to work hard to get it in their phone in the first place, but that's kind of...
You're telling me.
That's my guiding star. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing with Our Voice. People often, because I talk about this stuff, and people's like, oh, what do you think about this policy? And I always bring it right back to is, I want a net benefit to humanity through improving the civic process. I want people to root for who's running and not go, oh, fuck, do I have to vote again? Oh, I'm just going to stay home. That's the problem I want to solve.
So I have a question. So before the break that we had, I want to finish my point. Now, would you be behind this if we could get, I don't know if we could get it on as a citizen's ballot or what we would need to get it on, but would you be opposed to making mandatory voting the same punishable offense as dodging jury duty?
I like where you're going with that. I'm going to say no to the equality of that offense, but requiring a vote, although unrealistic. Back to what I was saying about people in power not voting themselves less power. But if we could, say I'm the king of the world, I'm going to make this one change and it's going to happen. Yes, I think people should be required to vote. Now, what we see, because there are countries that do this, Australia is one of them, if I'm not mistaken, they run into different kinds of problems that are arguably just as bad as ours. But if you tag along voting requirement along with actual real education, that's where the impact is made.
At the same time, there is no educational requirements for someone to sit on a jury that is going to decide someone's fate. And jury trials are not traffic tickets. They are not divorce proceedings. They are not misdemeanors usually. They are usually cases that will negatively affect someone's life for a long chunk of time. So my question can be used both ways. If you're not going to require that for a voting, to possibly make our country and our government better because of those requirements, then maybe we need to have those requirements on people serving in jury duty. See where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do. I just always err toward I like incentive better than I do fear of punishment. That really goes back to me being an apatheist, and I've had to figure out how to motivate myself to get out of bed in the morning rather than fear God.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I fear no God. I fear no man. I just know that if I don't get out of bed and go to work, my fat ass doesn't eat. So I'm good with that.
Well, and there's the immediate requirement of needing to eat, but I meant on a more, we need to enjoy life and enjoy being alive. And if you're God, it's harder to motivate yourself to do that because you're spending your effort on fearing God rather than enjoying life.
Yes. Well, and the thing is like I said, is I'll give it to you. And I asked that question because I know you're in Utah. And I know Utah's run by the Mormon. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's
not
conspiracy.
Really? Sure. It's run by the Mormon Syndicate. Dude, no one gave a shit about Utah until the Mormons came into it, but that was only after they were kicked out of Illinois and Missouri, and that was after their leader was killed in Missouri. I know a lot of history about this. I know a lot of history about the Mormons. I'm just saying.
We might have to have a Mormon episode for that.
Oh, please, can we?
Okay,
and Scientology.
Jeez, we'll do all that stuff.
Gee, if I'm on that show, it might hurt my future political prospects.
That's fine. I'm running. I was telling Corey, maybe one day I will run for office, and my campaign is going to be, I can't fuck it up any worse. I honestly can't. I could go in and just be like, you might be able to get some traction with that in the way of if you ever remember the movie. Brewster's Millions. Yes, exactly. Pryor. Yeah, he actually ran a campaign of none of the above. He didn't want people to vote for him. He wanted people to not vote for either of the two corrupt candidates. And he still won.
Yeah, right. Well, none of the above won.
Yeah. But I get Corey's point. I understand that. But I really think that in the last 25 years, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Chris is the youngest out of us, correct?
No, that would be Corey is the youngest out of us.
Holy shit, Corey, did you take civics in high school?
No.
Oh.
I did.
Well, there you go. Your generation knows shit and dick about politics other than other than what you taught yourself.
Yeah, I had to teach myself a great deal of many things.
Even having had that in public school for myself, my parents still had to supplement my education to even bring me close to the information that we have now. You know what I mean? They didn't do a very good job when they did offer it, but now they don't even offer it.
But going back to and throwing it back into Corey's realm of the whole tech thing is I'm seeing things now that kind of frighten me because our model of democracy should not work better in a third world country than it does in our own. And the whole net neutrality and Twitter being really, really dicks about what they're allowing people to post and what they're pulling off of posts and what Facebook is doing. Now, is that or is that not
censorship, right?
Right. Is that or is that not a bad thing in the simple fact, like the whole net neutrality? I had to explain to my 13-year-old kid how it used to be with 56.6K dial-up. And I see in our future us going backwards, and I'm not happy with backwards. I'm a big nerd when it comes to science fiction. I want to see forward. I want to see that Star Trek, or you know what I mean. I want that. We've excelled past Great Britain and countries to encompass everyone in the world, and now we're going out into the universe.
Well, Jesse, if you want to see the future to be a lot like Star Trek, I think the first step we need to make is to go back into the idea of the people are in charge of the government by way of our ability to vote, and then those legislatures are allowed to regulate industries that affect all of us equally. So that's energy, that's water, that's sewage removal, fire, police, and the internet, because the internet has now become part of all of our lives. And that's why net neutrality was such an important feature to the internet, and having it taken away from us and suggesting that, well, we were fine all the way up until we instituted it. Well, no, I'm sorry, but that argument is fucking ridiculous. It was brought in because it was just about to get corrupt.
It's the same argument of I never wear a seatbelt as a kid and I'm alive.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Corey,
for 80 years, I don't have cancer.
Yeah, no. Well, no, that's different. I smoke, so simmer your tits.
You're gonna get cancer, buddy.
No, I'm not.
Maybe
it doesn't run in my family, but then again, no one runs in my family, so go fuck yourself. So Corey, being in the industry that you are and having the background that you do, and me being the blue-collar, quote-unquote, layman of the group. My question is this. How fucking scared should I be of net neutrality right now?
Of it being repealed?
No, I mean of suddenly AT&T deciding that what we got for free at $80 is now worth $140, $150, $180.
Yeah, that's net neutrality being repealed.
Right.
So how scared should you be of that? It's going to be a slow burn over the next couple of years, but you're going to end up in a place where I describe it as the internet is akin to the road. It's existed. Mm-hmm. It's, we have an expectation and a precedent, for it to be there and available to us and for us to drive on. Net neutrality is akin to is suddenly allowing road makers to enforce tolls anywhere they want. And that disproportionately would affect the poor.
Right.
And the poor people will have less money, or rather will get less things out of the same money that they have as far as internet goes. And it's like I said, it's going to be a slow burn, and people aren't going to realize what's happening until they wake up one day a couple of years from now, assuming it hasn't been fixed by then, and go, what the fuck?
Right.
Where did we all go wrong? And then there's going to be documentaries made about, this is what happened, net neutrality. And I wish we could go to the future and take that documentary and show people that now, because then everybody would lose their fucking mind.
Oh, exactly. Like, I mean, I explained to my son the whole tier system of how cable used to be. And my imagination, exactly. And that's what they plan on doing.
They'll say you want YouTube, and you also want Google search, and you want Instagram. Well, you can have this package, but you don't get to have Twitter unless you upgrade. You can have.
So here's my question for the tech guy, Corey. Like I said, I've got enough basic information that I can break shit, but I don't have enough that I can fix it.
Yeah, Corey, talk nerdy to us.
Talk nerdy, big boy. So here's my question. What would stop a Elon Musk, or I don't know, if I won the fucking Powerball next week, what would stop me from starting my own ISP where I keep things as I am now and buy bandwidth to provide an ISP service?
You will eventually lose to the competing interests being able to outsell you.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you talk about outsell. Now, we're going to go with the deep draconian fucking, the government has said that you're poor and you can have Facebook or Instagram or Xbox, but you can't have all three for under $195 a month. Right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about us poor shitheads. If I started broke-ass internet service provider where I gave you what you have now at $60 a month, you're telling me I would have more customers than I would have bandwidth?
Well, the problem with the repeal of net neutrality is the ISPs, they butt heads with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't be able to provide that service because the other big players in the marketplace would be able to shut you down. You wouldn't be able to provide that access. They'd be like, oh, well, you're not playing ball with us, so we're going to find a way to muscle you out.
But you forgot, I'm Elon Musk. I have tons of money and I don't give a shit. I don't care if I make a profit or not. I don't care if I don't care if this company makes a dime, but I want to provide as much of that internet as I can. So well, then
it would do one of two things. It would either be successful in bringing the internet back, or it would die a miserable death. As people say with Tesla, one of Elon Musk's company, it's either going to change the world or it's going to die very fast.
Yeah, see, I've wanted to talk to Elon Musk because I have a few ideas on how he could actually push that whole Tesla fucking thing, but I'm afraid big oil will kill me. So it's one of those things. It's like I got to go off the grid to talk to Elon for 6 years and then be like, next thing you know, you'll see me on fucking Swamp People catching alligators 30 days out of the year going, I need this to survive the winter. So, but
well,
no, and that was my question.
If anyone's the person to speak to about Elon Musk, it would be Mr. Corey Henderson.
Oh, yeah. I like Elon Musk. I love the fact that he made a flamethrower. And then when countries said, we will not let you import that into our country under the flamethrower. Exactly. And that's all it says. It's not a flamethrower.
Well, and it actually isn't a flamethrower anyway.
No.
It's a weed burner connected to a propane tank that looks in the shape of a gun.
Correct.
It's like a tiki torch.
No, technically it's a gas-powered lighter.
Right.
A true flamethrower is a high-pressure liquid vapor system that connects to or gets combusted at the end of the gun and actually shoots a sticky liquid that's on fire. Correct.
So really, the Boring Company flamethrower and the real marketing trick there was it costs about $20 in parts to make what he's selling for $500.
Yeah, fucking the man's a fuck. Yeah, I love Elon Musk. I'm not gay, but I'd blow him. I love that smart motherfucker.
People like to talk about his vision and his benevolence, and it's like I want that to be actually true, but really when I look at his actions, he's
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't tell me he's Amazon. Don't tell me.
I'm not. That's not what I'm going to say.
Okay.
He's figured out how to use business modeling to appeal to a niche to raise money.
Right.
And part of that appeal is is that quote unquote message of benevolence and tech visionary. What I'm saying is every once in a while he says something where I kind of go, is he the tech Jesus that we think he is?
Okay,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I want him to be, but I have to be.
Yeah.
He could be playing the same game with his fans that he does with his investors, right?
And that's my exact point.
But you being as deep in the tech universe as you are, is he Bezos or whatever the fuck Amazon dictator's name is? The Fuhrer?
He's not like Bezos.
No, he's not.
I don't know.
Corey gets mad. My Corey gets mad because I call him fucking burrito. I don't know. I can never pronounce his name. Give us some tech, Corey.
Talk nerdy to me.
Talk nerdy. Do it now. Look me in the eyes.
Well, speaking of Elon Musk, we briefly talked about Tesla, but I want to talk about SpaceX.
SpaceX.
So
that's sexy.
People, it's the size. Here's a size comparison for you of their Falcon 9 rocket. So it's 21 stories, and well, what does that mean? I work on a 7-story building, and if I stood on the roof of that building, I look down at the cars look like Micro Machines or Hot Wheels or what have you, and I would be halfway up the first stage. I'd be 1/3 of the way up the rocket. That I would stand on top of the office where I work and not even be 1/3 of the way up that rocket.
That's a small rocket.
Yeah, so just the size comparison when you put it in terms, because you see the live stream and the rocket looks like the size of a pencil because it lacks perspective. But
Right.
That's the scale we're talking about. And now realize the reality of they land that motherfucking thing on a boat in the middle of the
that was awesome. I mean, 270 stories equals out to what? Roughly 13 feet a story?
I was thinking 15. I don't know what the real number is.
15? Something like that. But, I mean, it's an insane amount. But the fact that he can shoot something into space that for the last quadrillion years, everyone else has sent everything up one way and then back down with a parachute. So you don't turn whatever's in that payload into fucking scrambled eggs. He's up pointing it and going, not only are we going to set it up, we're going to land it.
Yeah.
And we're going to land it without a parachute. I mean, to me, that was just like any SpaceX things. That's why, like I said, Elon Musk, I'm not gay, but I blow him. Just
And one more comment about that landing. Now, it's called a landing. They call it the landing burn when it does its final burn to zero out its velocity right as it touches ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the rocket scientist, it's called a suicide burn because guess what? If that burn fails in any way,
suicide. My God.
Yeah,
I bet they never think about that while they're doing it.
No. I know what you're talking about because if it's not long enough, it falls and it'll land hard, topple, and explode. And if it's too long, it runs a risk of actually setting itself on fire.
Oh, really?
Yes, exactly.
Like a Roman candle.
And there's that. Well, it didn't put out enough thrust, so it just hits the ground at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So. And SpaceX, very PR of them, decided not to use the industry term suicide burn, and they just call it the landing burn.
That's awesome. Well, but then again, you got to remember, Prozac lists one of its side effects as suicidal thoughts, and paid a ton of money to have a federal judge say they didn't have to put homicidal thoughts as a side effect.
So what you're saying is. What you're saying is if SpaceX played we're going to do our suicide burn along with happy music, then that would be fine.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Come on. I'm thinking something a little banjo-y, if you know what I mean, Chris.
No, it wasn't a banjo. It was a peanut. Thank you very much.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Corey, you know any good jokes? You know any good quips, good technological funniness?
Oh, put on the
Talk nerdy to me.
Dude, I made the argument that Trump isn't human and he's three Oompa Loompas standing on each other's shoulders, so you can't do much worse than that. Come on. Have no fear, my friend.
So you have a girl who says, I've been a bad girl. Do something to punish me. And the guy says, all right, as he installs Windows 10 on her laptop.
That's funny because I get it.
Windows 10 sucks.
Does everyone remember that Bill Gates stole the idea, or is it just me?
It's the classic Tesla versus Edison argument of Tesla was a genius, but Edison knew how to take it to market.
Yeah, and I love a podcast, and I'm going to give them a shout out called The Dollop because they make history really, really fun.
Yeah.
But it's still actual historical facts. A lot of people have no fucking clue that the first cars that were actually marketed to Americans were electric.
Yes.
They weren't combustion. They were not combustion. And everyone seems to forget Tesla wanted free energy for everyone and actually had a Wi-Fi-esque idea on how to provide that.
And when JP Morgan Chase discovered that's what he wanted to do, they defunded him.
Yeah, not only that, but Edison in response turned around and fried an elephant in Times fucking Squares to show that AC current was deadly. He fried an elephant, electrocuted an elephant, and this guy's still celebrated as a hero in American history. He stole his ideas. He fucked people over on patents. I think honestly the only thing that Edison ever did as a true inventor was invent the whole, I'm going to say, sure, give me this, and then I'm going to bend you over and fuck you in the ass and steal everything that you do.
And you know what's the sad thing about that is someone who voted for Trump might read that and go, oh, well, that gives me hope that Trump's going to be revered as an American hero in 50 years.
Oh, God.
Sure. Why not? He's 1/3 of an American hero. But then again, we also say that American heroes are people that go over and shoot brown people for fun, i.e., oh, I'm not going to go there. Shit, that'll be way too much hate mail for Chris to deal with. Never mind. Edit that part out.
All mail is good mail.
No, it's not.
Corey, who's your favorite scientist?
Oh, wait. I have a question I want to ask.
Ask it.
Chris, if Santa watches porn on Pornhub, what's his favorite porn to watch?
You want me to answer that?
Both of you can answer it.
I have no idea.
I would say, oh golly, G-MILF porn.
Oh, interesting. I was thinking it was BBC cuckold, but that's just me.
Jesus Christ.
By the way, my favorite scientist is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Hell yeah, he's
why
mine
is
as
he
well.
your favorite scientist?
He just has a very unique way to explain things because he's an educator.
Yep.
And he's a nerd.
Yeah.
And we're back. And Mr. Henderson had to leave us. Unfortunately, he had some stuff to take care of, but it was really great having him on, don't you think, Jess?
Oh, I love talking to Chris, and I look forward to having him. Sorry,
Try that again.
Corey. I love talking to. I'm sorry, Corey. I'm married to a Corey, so unless I'm looking at her, I don't call. You know what I mean? So, but I loved having him on, and I look forward to having him on more and more and more. And I really think that he needs to come on a lot more because I love talking to the techie and that left brain mentality because realistically, I think that's what a lot of people and the world needs. We need to listen to the smarter people more and tell these people who think that if you pray hard, school shootings don't happen. Those people need to go away, like seriously.
Or at least be re-educated somehow. I don't know. Maybe one day somebody can penetrate the religious chunk of your brain.
Sure. I can fix it. But no one's going to give me that amount of authority and a taser that large. They're just not.
Well, you know who might give you a taser that large would be the new Space Force program that Trump.
Oh, Jesus!
What do you think
Christ.
about that, Jesse?
So I know that the 7 people, unless it's dropped off, that have listened, they've come across the whole Trump is an Oompa Loompa theory. I'm really starting to think that Trump more and more is more like Ozzy Osbourne in the simple fact that he's in his 70s and he's fucking fried. And I think that someone in his immediate circle has convinced him that he's from the future and has told him, Mr. Trump, I'm from the future and I'm here to tell you about all the things that are going to happen. And if you don't start a Space Force right away, that there's a little planet that's 2 solar systems away called Klandathu that's going to launch a meteor and destroy Buenos Aires.
Jesus. You know what comes across my mind when I hear that is that this is something along the lines of this is the next, like, this isn't his choice and he didn't come up with this. This is more the next stage in the development of the military-industrial complex. That honestly, he just happens to be president when they've decided, okay, this is our next move.
Right. But honestly, I wonder, okay, so I'm going to give you the hilarious one I think is hilarious, and then the actual one that may be rooted in actual fact.
Your theories on why?
No, yes.
The Space Force?
Okay. So I looked at my wife, Corey, when he made that announcement, looked at her and said, A, there's no oil in space, and B, there are no brown people in space, so what the fuck do we need to go to space for?
Ooh, precious minerals.
Ooh, yeah. And then the other one that I started thinking about was not too long ago, earlier this month or late last month, I read an article about ISS was in cooperation with Russia to actually create an ion cannon or a laser cannon. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been a laser cannon to actually launch into space and start shooting all the debris out of our immediate orbit. And a lot of people don't realize that we've got fucking satellites from MTV, AT&T, fucking Motorola, Nokia. Does anyone remember Nokia? We've got satellites.
That was my first cell phone.
Right. In our immediate orbit. There's like 3,200, maybe it's a little bit more than that. But roughly the ISS has said that you have to get through all of that shit to actually achieve a workable orbit around our planet. And Russia is working on I'm pretty sure it's a laser cannon, to vaporize all the debris that's actually floating around our country or our world. And I
Wow,
wonder.
Okay. So is this junk basically traveling around the outer or out past the atmosphere, but before you get to the satellites, or are the satellites in front of it?
Okay, so basically the way it
I
works
don't
is,
quite
if I
understand.
remember correctly, it goes stratosphere and then atmosphere. Atmosphere is what has the ozone layer and everything else. And then you actually have to breach that to actually hit 0G, to actually be
Where's
in
all the
orbit.
garbage, though, Jesse?
That's all garbage. And it's like a 5-mile swath of garbage. Now, here's the thing that scares me.
Leftovers from different launches
Yes.
we've done and stuff? The extra cargo shit that falls apart as it flies off? Or?
Well, not only that, it's extra cargo. It's yes. But it's
the launching
dead,
missile. Yeah, right.
Right, but it's dead satellites. It's dead satellites.
Dead satellites. Okay.
Yes. Now, what happens in space is, a lot of people don't understand, is in space, nothing ever goes away.
Right.
There are no bacteria in space to eat shit. There are no insects to eat shit. There are no nanobots to eat shit. There's nothing to get rid of this shit.
And even if there were, matter can neither be created nor destroyed.
Correct. So what we have is a layer around our planet of early space exploration and early satellite technology that is surrounding our planet. So anything we launch, if it for NASA, which is the lowest possible bidder, gets the contract, if they manage to get something off the pad without blowing the fuck up, and through the stratosphere and the atmosphere, it still has that belt of shit that orbits our planet to get through.
So it has to wait for traffic almost.
Almost. And what Russia is and the ISS, International Space Station, is proposing is creating an a laser cannon to vaporize all that garbage. Now, the thing you have to understand is this: Trump can talk about space Marines or fucking space Air Force all he fucking wants, but realistically, once you get away from our atmosphere, we literally are back into the, I don't know, fucking.
You could call it the Wild West, right?
No. It's even worse than that.
I mean, who owns space?
No, it's not a matter of owning space. You have to understand is the ISS is really right now worried about solar flares and solar anything. A grain of sand that's coming off of a fucking asteroid or a meteoroid or anything in space is traveling so fast it can literally go through the ISS. Now, if it's
what they're worried about is the debris field destroying everything else that's valuable up there that's still operating.
Correct. Not only that, is if anything you launch into that. Now, this is shit we put up there. So it's made out of aluminum, or it's made out of steel, or it's made out of this, or it's made out of fucking vibranium, whatever you want to call it. It will still not compare to solar dust. It will not compare to shit that comes off of asteroids. I think there's a couple of places on the planet right now that deals with heavy particles from space. I cannot remember what they're called. And all the nerds out there, please forgive me, but at least give me credit for I know this fucking shit. That actually, it's like 4 or 5 fucking miles in the earth, and it's a heavy water, and it's a special water that catches particles from space. So they can study it, they can see it, and everything else. If those hit an astronaut on a fucking spacewalk, he's dead. If it hits the ISS, it's going through the entire fucking platform that they've built up there, and it's fucking garbage. So my problem is this fucking idiot, Trump, who thinks Clondaftew's getting ready to attack, is wanting to talk about using current military technology to send people into space, which violates the armistice of space, which means that we can't really say that we own this and we own the moon and we own that and blah, blah, this is our section. But more importantly, a lot of people don't realize is if we put a military presence in space, I would suggest you go and watch G.I. Joe Retaliation, because that'll give you exactly what the fuck is going to happen. Now you can kill
the
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe
Yes.
Retaliation.
Yes.
Okay.
With The Rock. Dwayne motherfucking
I think
Johnson.
I might have saw that one, but I like quickly forgot it immediately after.
Or we'll go deep cut, Real Genius. Now you've got, yeah, exactly. Now you've got a weapons platform in space that can kill anyone on the Earth.
So your point is that the Russians and the International Space Station folks are colluding together to try to create a laser cannon that's going to vaporize all this debris that will make it small enough particles that it won't destroy anything. And the concern then from the Americans, who are always expecting everyone else to be as militant as we are, is we need to have Marines up there so that we can make sure that Putin doesn't launch this laser up to the sky and then start zapping us whenever he feels like it. Is that along the lines of what we're talking about here?
That's along the lines. And I'm going to give you...
That doesn't sound too far-fetched.
I'm going to give you a one of my new favorite memes of a guy in camouflage sitting in front of a fucking computer screen with joysticks. And the quote says, or the caption states that, do you know the difference between a mosque and a wedding? And he says, I don't fucking know. I just drive the drone.
Yeah, right.
That is where we are with our country. Like I don't trust our military at all. I really don't. And I'm not anti-patriotic. If I see a plane flying over, dropping parachutes with a big red star on it, I'll be the first to pick up arms and be like, not today, motherfucker. Here's one that I want to throw out to people. Here's one that I want to throw out to people, okay? I am sick and tired of seeing on Facebook local community outreach centers for animals. For if you don't adopt this cat, it's going to be euthanized. If you don't adopt this dog, it's going to be euthanized. I would rather see that program, and this is going to sound cold and this is going to sound callous and everything else, but why don't we have homeless shelters sponsoring programs like that?
Exactly. You know what? A statistic exists, and I want to say the year was 2005 or so. I used to live in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, and there was a survey taken in Boulder, and the results of the survey showed that 70% of the people would rather help out a homeless cat than a homeless person.
Yes. Now here's the thing that gets me. But you look at the statistics, and at least, I want to say at least 20 to 25% of those homeless people are vets. Where's your patriotic spirit?
I know, and you know what else is people, even if they claim to not
it gets better.
Be bigots, they have
Where's your fucking Christian spirit?
Yeah, right.
So you can take your patriotism, and you can take your Christian spirit, you can take your religion and your fucking go USA. As far as I'm concerned, you can shove it up your ass. It's useless. It's pointless. It's detrimental to critical thinking, and it distracts people from doing what needs to be fucking done. I don't give a shit if PETA fucking offs 6,000 fucking dogs. I don't give a shit if they euthanize 3,000 fucking cats. I really don't. I really fucking don't. But when I see certain people suffering in our communities that are veterans because they can't get help, they can't get funding, they can't get whatever the fuck they need, when realistically, on a civil level, you should be able to go to court and say, look, asshole, I signed a contract when I was 19 to join up with the military, and you said you would do this, and this. You're not doing that. Where's my benefits?
So to all the listeners out there that might have heard Jessie in past episodes or even in this one talk about how he has a complete distaste for the military, to put it lightly, yes, you need to realize that that is in no way something that goes against the vets. In fact, he supports the troops because he doesn't want to make more.
No, exactly.
That's the point. If you make no more vets, then you don't have a vet problem.
What is a vet? What is a vet? Wait, stop. Let's back the fuck up for a minute. Let's look at that word. What the fuck is a vet? A vet is a veteran.
No, veteran.
Veteran. Meaning they've gone off and they've served. They fulfilled a contract. A lot of people don't understand. When you join the military, you sign a goddamn contract with the United States government.
I'll shoot these people. You're going to give me shit at the end of it. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you don't fulfill that contract, they throw your fucking ass in jail. They don't fulfill that contract. It's the Democrats because they don't want to.
It becomes a political issue. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like I said, my mother is a vet. I'm not saying that I don't agree with that because That was her life, okay? But all I'm saying is that the military's cost me more than it's cost a lot of you motherfuckers. So you want to start comparing fucking sob stories, let me know. We'll do it on fucking one-on-one. If you want to record it, we'll record it. But I guarantee at the end of the day, you're going to be going, fuck you, win. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. I might be able to find someone to come on here for that then.
Do that shit then.
I like that. Yeah, I will do that shit, baby.
I'll throw that as a challenge all day, every fucking day.
I will certainly post it on our Twitter presence. That's a progressive. Well, actually, if you're listening to this, you already know we have a Twitter account.
Yeah, you already know we got a Twitter. Yeah. Okay, so what was the third thing that I wanted to talk about?
You wanted to talk about the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Can I make a caveat before you dive into that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
We all argue about how Trump can't build that wall, and actually Trump is having a hard time finding any funding for it. He's certainly not going to make Mexico pay for it, even if he thinks of tariff ideas. But my point I'd like to make is that there are several sections of land all across the southern border where we already have a wall. It's just not called a wall. It's called a physical barrier or a protected fence or any of that shit. And those things got voted in by both Republicans and Democrats who are still serving in the Senate and in the House of Representatives right now. So what I say is, if you don't like the wall, not only should you be resisting Trump, you should also be voting out these fucking incumbents and put some new blood in there so that we can start having real conversations about immigration.
Okay, so now
what are your thoughts about the wall?
My thought is this, okay? This fucking idiot is looking at the wall as not an immigration, not a this, not a that. He's not looking at it as a way to stop illegal immigrants, because if he really wanted to stop illegal immigrants, what he would do is he would put a policy in place that threw CEOs of companies in fucking prison that hired illegal immigrants. I've yet to see that legislation.
End it immediately. Yeah.
Duh. Yeah, fuck. Duh.
And there are ways to come in and be a migrant worker legally.
Tomatoes. Every fucking
piece of fruit
in Walmart that you see, odds are was picked by an illegal immigrant. Now, if those companies that provided that fruit or vegetable or whatever, that CEO went to fucking jail for breaking the law, because technically he's culpable in the law because he hired a known illegal immigrant in his company. Ooh, no more fucking problems. He wants to build the wall to show that this motherfucker was on the planet.
They make the rules for due diligence of making sure that the social security numbers are real. They don't even have to try to prove.
Okay, so here's my point. I'm going to give you a for instance. I'm going to open up a convenience store in my neighborhood. Okay, it's going to be a legit business. I'm going to sell chips. I'm going to sell cigarettes, lotto, beer, pop, overpriced candy, all of that.
Yeah.
But in the back room, I'm also going to sell heroin, crack, cocaine, lighter fluid, gasoline, anything that I can think of that's going to damage the community around me, right? But
wait. Pause for a second. Lighter fluid's going to damage the community around you?
Yeah. Have you ever seen a huffer?
Okay, continue.
Right. But because I am a corporation, all the people that I give this shit to, they are the ones that get arrested and prosecuted and sent to jail, but never me, because I'm a corporation. And how do you send a corporation to jail? Easy! Citizens United Act. Motherfuckers got a religious opinion. They can actually have that opinion that says that I'm not going to pay for birth control because I'm Chick-fil-A and I believe in fucking Jesus Christ, who was put on the cross and not a boomerang, and that's why he hasn't gone dark yet.
Okay.
But if they can enforce their religious beliefs, that means you have the same rights as a person. Right?
But they don't receive the same punishment as a person.
Oh, kind of funny how that fucking works, isn't it?
I don't know if there's precedence for it, but I assume that most of the thought behind it is that since you can't imprison an entire company and no one person, even the CEO, represents the entire organization in a legal proceeding, what they can do is they fine the company and what they consider to be a large amount of money.
Stop. before Citizens United, a fine would work, because you are 100% correct. But once Citizens United came into effect, and their religious beliefs are set directly off the person, CEO, who owns the motherfucking company.
Or well, it represents the company at an executive level.
No.
CEOs don't own companies.
It is the owner of the company's religious beliefs that can or cannot negatively affect their employees and whether or not they pay for birth control or not.
Okay.
The Waltons are hardcore Christians, and they don't pay for they don't pay shit for their employees. Yeah. Chick-fil-A, I don't know what the family name is of that, but they're religious. They don't operate on Sunday, and they don't pay for birth control for their people because their company, i.e. them, because they are the company under the Citizens United Act, states that my religious beliefs trump what the federal law states. Great. Super duper. Hire one illegal immigrant, I'll have your ass fucking in jail because you broke the law just as much as that illegal immigrant did.
So along those lines, then, what's your beef with the wall?
My beef with the wall is this: is it's not going to accomplish anything, in the simple fact that it is going to be a 2018 or 19 or 2020, whenever they get the fucking thing built, version of a fucking pyramid for a pharaoh. Go fuck yourself.
So you're saying he wants the wall built so that it will be a gigantic structure that has his name attached to it?
Correct.
It is all vanity?
It is a legacy monument, and that's all it is.
Oh, shit.
Because a wall ain't gonna stop shit. We have, like you said, we have other sections of the wall and other portions of the country that don't stop shit.
And with that, we're going to have to stop one shit. That would be this episode.
Alrighty.
Jessie, as always, it's been a great pleasure, and I cannot wait to do this again with you, probably in about 10 days or so. In the meantime, everybody out there, please be on the lookout for small segments from this episode. And don't forget to stop by Patreon/Progressive Rampage. That's Patreon/Progressive Rampage. And I don't know, give a shit. Put $1 in the...
Send us some money, you cheap fuckers. If you'll pay for fucking Netflix when they show the same dog shit fucking shows all day long, send us a few bucks.
Yeah, and you even get to tell us.
We can only get better.
You can become a producer. You can tell us what to talk about. You can tell me to go to hell, and you just want to hear Jessie all day, you know? So,
or you could tell me to shut the fuck up and let Chris talk, or our guest talk. I'm just saying.
Whether they give us $1 or not.
Not only that, for 32 cents a day, YouTube can sponsor a podcast that will tell you exactly how the fuck it is and stop being a fucking moron.
Well put, sir.
Shit, was that too long? All right, folks. Thanks for watching, listening, not sending me hate mail or the NSA to my house to arrest me.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Tired canine fornicator.
A tired canine fornicator instead of a lazy dog fucker?
Right. And then I could say, instead of suck a bag of dicks, I could turn around, or choke on a bag of dicks, I could turn around and tell you to asphyxiate on a satchel of penis or phalluses.
Satchel of phalluses. Ooh,
yes.
Or prepuces.
Yes.
Interesting. I like that concept.
Or masticate fecal matter and expire.
Eat, chew shit, and die?
Eat shit and die. Masticate is to eat. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was chewing.
No.
Wow. All right. Well, if you come up with a song incorporating that kind of stuff, for fuck's sake, send it to me.
All right, will do.
I was just.
All right.